Have you ever woken up with that strange feeling that something isn't right? Even when, on the surface, everything seems fine? The alarm goes off, you grab your phone, and before you even get out of bed, your heart is already racing. Notifications pop up on the screen like little reminders that the world is spinning, and that maybe you're being left behind. Promotions, perfect bodies, travels, weddings, achievements, an endless feed of lives that always seem to be one step ahead of yours. And then it hits you. Anxiety. A weight on your chest, a constant restlessness, as if you were chasing a train that will never stop for you to board. It's as if we were stuck on an invisible treadmill, moving without actually going anywhere, always trying to reach something that seems just within reach, but never arrives. And the strangest part, the more we run, the more anxious we become. Why? Could this anxiety be due to a lack of time, money, purpose, or is the problem deeper than we imagine? This is where Arthur Schopenhauer comes in, a philosopher who saw the world through dark yet incredibly clear lenses. He didn't promise happiness or formulas for success. On the contrary, he claimed that life, in its essence, is full of suffering. But what if he was right? What if it is precisely this frantic pursuit to fill the void that makes us suffer? Before we dive into his ideas, think about this. How many times a day do you feel you should be doing more, being more, living more? And how many times, even after achieving something, does that peace last only a few hours? Schopenhauer called this will, an inner, blind, insatiable force that makes us desire, 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 without ever finding rest. And perhaps it's this very will that is the true root of your anxiety. But what exactly is this will? How does it work? And why does it make you feel like something is always missing, even when you already have so much? That's what we're about to discover. We live in an era where looking happy is almost a requirement. With every click, a new comparison. With every scroll, a subtle reminder that you still haven't reached that place. Social media is no longer just a place to connect. It's an arena where everyone tries to show they're winning the race of life. And if you feel like you're falling behind, welcome to the club. Have you ever felt like you're running out of breath, even without moving? The feeling of constantly comparing yourself, pushing yourself, getting frustrated, that's the invisible poison seeping in from all sides. We want the perfect body, a balanced mind, the ideal partner, the dream job, all at once, and urgently. But even when we achieve something, the satisfaction evaporates almost as quickly as it arrived, and the anxiety grows. It grows like a carnivorous plant feeding on our restlessness. This constant pressure to always be okay, always moving forward, creates what we now call FOMO, the fear of missing out. And Schopenhauer might have given a sad smile at that, because for him, this unease isn't a product of modernity. It's the heart of existence, an unquenchable thirst, an internal engine that runs nonstop. And the more we try to win, the more we feel like we're losing. Let's imagine John, a dedicated professional. After years of effort, he finally gets the promotion he always dreamed of. For the first few days, euphoria intoxicates him. He feels valued, recognized. But in less than a week, something changes. The glow begins to fade. A new thought invades his mind. Now what? What comes next? The anxiety returns, perhaps even stronger than before. He looks at colleagues who are one rung above and wonders, what did they do that I haven't yet? What was once an achievement turns into anguish. It's like climbing a staircase where each step reveals another even higher, none of which offers any rest. And here's the essential question. Does this cycle ever end? Or are we all trapped in a game where the goal keeps shifting every time we get close? Now that you understand how this anxiety appears in our daily lives, it's time to dive into Schopenhauer's perspective. And get ready, because it's as uncomfortable as it is liberating. For him, the problem isn't out there in the world. It isn't society, capitalism, technology, or social media. Those things might amplify the problem, but the root is much deeper. What truly torments us is something that resides within. He called it will. But what is this so-called will? Schopenhauer believed that the will is a blind, irrational, and relentless force. It is what drives us, from the most basic impulses, like eating or fleeing pain, to the more complex desires for success, love, power, or recognition. The will doesn't think, it doesn't rest, it doesn't satisfy. It simply wants, always. And when one desire is fulfilled, another takes its place. In his words, will is the essence of man, the root of all our actions, and the source of all suffering. In other words, we are driven by an internal engine that never turns off, a fire that, even after being quenched, reignites with new hunger. This explains why we feel anxious even after achieving what we wanted, because we're already yearning for the next step. It's as if the very structure of our mind is programmed to never find peace. Imagine a hamster running inside that little gym wheel, thinking it's going somewhere. That's how Schopenhauer saw human life. An endless race where the finish line recedes every time we get closer. And what do we feel while running? Anxiety, frustration, impatience. Exactly what you feel when you open Instagram and see that everyone else seems happier, more fulfilled, further ahead than you. The will, according to Schopenhauer, is that mechanism we can't turn off, and it's precisely what makes us suffer. Now that you understand what Schopenhauer meant by will, perhaps you're beginning to see how this force is present in almost everything in our lives, especially in the world we live in today. Think about social media. They're like a mirror that, instead of reflecting, distorts. Every photo, every post, every achievement of someone else seems to shout, "You still haven't gotten there." But where exactly is there? No one knows. And yet, we keep running, liking, commenting, comparing, and feeling that no matter how much we advance, it's never enough. This is the will at work, disguised as ambition, self-esteem, or motivation. Schopenhauer said, "Man's life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom." And that's exactly what we experience on Instagram, on TikTok, in our year-end resolutions. Sometimes we desire with pain, sometimes we achieve and feel boredom. Then we start desiring again with even more anxiety. Want an example? Imagine Louisa, 27 years old. She just launched an online course after months of hard work. She sells 200 enrollments. Success? Not quite. Because instead of celebrating, she picks up her phone and sees that another influencer sold 2,000 enrollments on the same day. Her heart sinks. Doubt creeps in. What am I doing wrong? Guilt arises. Anguish. The will. The next day, she's already reworking everything. That achievement turned to dust. The happiness delayed once again. And that's why Schopenhauer said that the will is infinite. Not because it offers more possibilities, but because it never satisfies. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. The more you try to fill it, the more you feel something is missing. And the worst part? We live in a culture that turns this anguish into a way of life. Work more, post more, consume more, show more. Everything revolves around feeding a will that can never be satiated, a hunger that never stops. Have you ever had that feeling of having everything you need to be okay? Health, a job, friends, and yet still feeling an emptiness, a subtle discomfort, as if something were off, even if you can't pinpoint what. That isn't failure. That is the echo of the will inside you, an unsettling reminder that as long as you're alive, it will always want more. But perhaps, just perhaps, understanding this dynamic is the first step to freeing yourself from it. So far, we've talked about how the will silently operates in our lives. And you might be thinking, okay, I get it. I'm stuck on this wheel. But how do I get out? Is there any way out? That's a powerful question. And even though Schopenhauer is known for his pessimism, he didn't leave us completely in the dark. He believed that, although we can't eliminate the will, it is possible to silence it, even if only for brief moments. And it's in those moments that we find the chance to breathe, to escape, even temporarily, this invisible prison of desires and comparisons. It's not about denying life, but about finding gaps in the system, moments when the will loses its grip, and we feel something close to peace. So, how do we get there? That's what we're about to explore. Schopenhauer didn't believe we could completely rid ourselves of the will. It's ingrained in us. But he did believe that we can find, from time to time, refuges, small pauses in this whirlwind of wanting. And in those moments, we manage to breathe. These refuges are found in simple yet profound things. The first of them is what he called aesthetic contemplation. When you listen to a song that moves you, that makes you forget about time. When you look at a painting, a tree, the ocean, and feel the world slow down. When you read a poem and are moved without even knowing why. Those suspended moments where you want nothing and simply exist, they are precious. It is in those moments that the will quiets down. Schopenhauer said that in art, the individual is freed from the servitude of the will, and perhaps that's why we often cry in the presence of beauty, because in that instant, there is nothing to conquer, only being. So, take more time to appreciate artistic works. Another possibility he proposes is the negation of the will. And no, that doesn't mean turning into a monk or living without desire. It means observing your desires with awareness, knowing that wanting is not the same as needing, knowing when to pull back, knowing when to laugh at your own impulses. For example, when you feel that you need to buy something, ask yourself, do I really want this? Or do I want what I think it will give me? Sometimes desire is just a disguise for something else. Insecurity, comparison, fear. And the simple act of questioning can start loosening the chains of the will. Let's return to Louisa's story. After realizing she was caught in a destructive cycle of comparison, she did something simple. She spent an entire afternoon drawing, without posting anything, without expecting likes, without thinking about numbers, just her, the paper, and the colors. And when she finished, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: tranquility. It didn't solve all her problems, of course, but it created a space within the chaos, a gap, a quiet resistance. Another path to negating the will is to reassess our priorities. Are you truly desiring the right things? Or are you just wanting what everyone says is the thing everyone wants? Make a list. Question each item. Where did that desire come from? Does it still make sense for who you are today? Sometimes the answer is yes, but often, no. And consciously saying no is a liberating act. Finally, allow yourself to laugh. Yes, laugh. At the absurdity of life, at its contradictions, at the trivial desires that pop up out of nowhere. Laughter is a remedy that may not cure, but it eases. It unties the knot, showing that even in our chaos, we are still human, and that in itself is a lot. In the end, Schopenhauer wasn't a cynical nihilist who thought life was useless. He was a profound realist, someone who saw, with an almost cruel clarity, the hidden gears of our suffering, and who had the courage to say, yes, life is hard, but it is possible to find relief, even if only briefly. And perhaps that's exactly what we're missing today. Not more promises, but bearable truths. Not more euphoria, but pause. Not more self-help, but self-understanding. When Schopenhauer said that life is a business that doesn't cover its costs, he wasn't declaring that everything is futile. He was showing us that if we live solely for desire, we will always be in debt, always owing something to ourselves. But if we learn to cherish the small moments when the will quiets down, a sincere conversation, a song that moves us, a quiet sunset, then perhaps, even amid chaos, we can build a life with meaning. Now let me ask you, what if your anxiety isn't a flaw, but a symptom of a soul tired of chasing ghosts? Leave your answer in the comments. Share this video with someone you know is also trying to fill that void. And if this message resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It helps this content reach more people. And more importantly, it keeps this space alive. A space where we can talk about what truly matters. If you want to continue on this journey of self-discovery and reflection, right next to this video are 2 more that complement everything we discussed today. Pick one and keep exploring. Because if it's true that life oscillates between pain and boredom, then at least between one swing and the next, may we find beauty, clarity, and perhaps even a little peace. See you next time.